For 4 decades, Clayton Dreger has been a well-known voice and personality throughout southern Manitoba and the Manitoba media landscape. Clayton, for us, this is a switch of positions. You have interviewed me more than once. Now this is my turn.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a get-even thing or not, but we'll see. So let's start at the beginning, a good place to start. Tell me about how you get into broadcasting and why.
I was working in construction, but I loved radio growing up. Listened to CKY, Don Percy in the morning, his morning show, loved it. And growing up in the sports realm and doing a lot of that, I just thought, it'd be great, but I didn't know how to do it, how to get into the business. So it happens, to make the story short, knew Al Friesen, the program director at Radio Southern Manitoba, and as it turned out, we're at the Morse Curling Club. He says, "Hi, how are you doing? Is it great?" Then he asked the question, "So what are you doing?" "Well, I'm working construction, but I want to get into radio." And he says, "We're looking for somebody. Talk to Ken Clausen." So I did. We chatted for a bit, and then I got the phone call, said, "Come in on January 7th, 1985. And it was a dream job, and to get into the business like that, it was like winning the lottery, I was told, which was pretty special.
And you also got introduced to the game by a couple of icons in Manitoba broadcasting in southern Manitoba, and Al Friesen and Ken Clausen. Those guys knew their stuff, and I'm sure they guided you very well.
Very, very well.
Let's. You mentioned sports. Let's go there right away. Most Canadian boys, obviously, who are sports oriented, the first place you go is hockey.
Yes.
Right? You have made quite a name for yourself, and deservedly so, in the baseball realm in this province. What was the attraction to baseball, or did you just start out with a broad sweep and landed on baseball?
Growing up in Morris, played catch, loved the game. Thought I was going to be a pitcher. You call up your best friend, throw a garbage can lid in the backyard, walk back a few steps and throw. So, okay, we're ready. And I'm like 11, 12 years old. Everything was great until all of a sudden I faced a batter. And it was not very good. So we played minor ball in Morse for a couple of years. But, when I got into radio, of course, we're covering all the sports, and when summer rolled around, you're covering baseball, and with our 3 radio stations in Altona, Steinbach, and Boissevain, you're covering it all, like from one end of the province to the other. So that was pretty cool back then, starting in '85. The Red Boyne was still going, the Manitoba Senior. It was just real special to cover that caliber of ball all the way down to the Manitoba Junior and minor baseball as well.
I'm going to ask you for a little more detail about that, because I think there are some younger members of our audience who don't really understand the intensity or the amount of detail you go into when you talk about covering a sport the way it used to be. You referenced the fact that there were more baseball leagues and teams then than there are now, very true. But also the way that local radio, and Southern Manitoba, Radio Southern Manitoba is a tremendous example of this. The way local radio covered it. It could have been the New York Yankees. Because you really went into detail and really went after it.
And we really have to thank all the coaches and managers of each team, because as you know, back in the day, there's no internet. You can't just flip on the league website and find the score and stats. You were dependent upon coaches and managers to have faith in you that you would get this on the radio, and they would send you the results or the box score or the game sheet, and you deciphered it, and whatever you could put on the air, you put on the air. But no, they were just so good to us and made sure we had everything we needed, and we put it all on the air and continued on right from the start of the season to playoffs, and then of course with provincials, right to the very end.
It's interesting you should mention that, but it's a great compliment, and you're right about that. You have to get up at 2 or 3 in the morning, go to work at 4:30 or 5, whatever your schedule is. But somebody has to answer that phone at 6:30 or 7 when you're calling to say, "What happened last night?"
That's right. That's amazing, and as well, I have to give credit to our night staff, because they took the calls and made sure that we had all the information that we needed, and they were so valuable. And then you come in the morning, and you know what? Pretty well everything's there. There's going to be the odd one, the odd home team that kind of loses badly, that all of a sudden that phone call to the media isn't that important anymore. But we would track it down early in the morning and get it on the air for our listeners.
Let me ask you about your broadcasting career in terms of goals and dreams. I suspect you had big ones just like I did.
You know, once I was treated so well by Golden West. There was never any dreams of going to Winnipeg. I always believed that the Winnipeg media felt that what we had in Altona, Steinbach, and Boys of Vain under that Golden West umbrella with Mr. Elmer Hildebrandt, our patriarch, was just as big as anybody else. And we had a job to do for our listeners, and we made a point of doing it the right way and making sure they were informed. So after a decade and then longer, there was just no reason to have to look anywhere else and say, maybe I want to go, to a different province or something. No, that was, it was just so much fun the way you're treated and to do what you did, especially when you loved going to work in the morning.
That's unusual, rare, I think would probably be the right word for it, in the media world. Because in the media world, you start in smaller communities, as many did, myself included. And the only way you move up is you move out. You never did. And you hung it. It's like a star player starting with a team and staying with it until he retires. It just doesn't happen, and particularly in today's world. And you're certainly the shining example of why it can happen and how it can happen and how it can be successfully done. Speaking of successes, talk to me about your biggest thrill, your proudest moment.
In baseball?
Doesn't matter where, you tell me.
Oh, well, we'll go with a couple not non-baseball related. Watching Jack Nicklaus play at St. Charles in the 2000 Canadian Senior Men's Open Golf Championship and meeting Bobby Orr. That was as well. That was really special. But baseball-wise, Pan Am Games being there in '99 and beautiful ballpark. I mean, seriously, it's hard to believe it's as old as it is because it's just a gem and still is. But I just love, covering everything that we do, like what we cover, getting people's voices on the radio, and minor ball probably the most. Provincial time in July is very busy for baseball in Manitoba, and we get the results. We keep track on the website to who's done what, and when a team from our listening area wins gold, to talk to that coach and hear the excitement in his voice and just how special that weekend was for the coaches, the players, the parents, and it's so memorable. To get that on the air, or listeners to hear it, that's probably the most special.
One of the things I think that many folks miss these days and just don't have access to, or as much access to as they've had in the past, is the value of good local media. And I know in order to have stayed where you have in southern Manitoba, in smaller markets, certainly, you understand the value of local media and community. Can you express that for me? Why is it so important?
Oh, it's to interview, for example, say border baseball league team from Wharton or Winkler, Altona, or Cartwright, and get a player on the radio, and then somebody from that town hears it. They walk up to him later in the day. I heard you on the radio. You're not going to hear him anywhere else. So that I always found, and that was ingrained into us by Mr. Hildebrandt, that there's a reason why we're viable, is because of this. The more people we can get on the air from the community and someone hears it, that's gold for us. And especially if we can get the feedback, say, I heard that interview that you did with so-and-so from Cartwright or from Boys of Vain or from Deloraine. That's really cool.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is why this man is so deserving of his role in the Manitoba Baseball Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Clayton.
Thank you very much, Ron.